This again. So sorry about that. I had a phone call that I really needed to take. So that's what I was doing. Let me just make sure that I am online. And we're just not going to do the opening, kind of ditties that I do because I don't think. Oh, you know what? My camera's still frozen here. Let me just fix that real quick. And there we go. Look at that. Okay. Now I'm gonna have to fix my other camera because that's just how this works. All right. So I am back after a very, very long weekend. The polls in Michigan are telling a different story than you might hear from the mainstream media and Democrats. Tudor is up, proposals are up, but a red wave may be the outcome. A poll in the New York Times suggests that many Americans don't trust the media, which is a great pitch for me as I, kind of encourage not trusting the media. We hear from Roger Williams running from the Grand Haven School Board and examine the claim that he is disruptive and a radical extremist. Finally, clear your children from the room because I will be talking about This Book is Gay, and you don't want this information anywhere near your children. Why is it in Grand Haven Public Schools? I think you know. All this and more. I'm Anon Don. This is the Holmes Politicast. All right, we are back. That was, as I said, a long weekend, but we're going to be covering some good topics today. Let me just fix my camera here so I'm not just sitting here frozen looking like a doof. All right, there we go. Now, fix that. Fixed the other stuff that needed fixing, and here we go. So, first off, the polls are changing in Tudor Dixon's favor. This is quite an interesting development. So we're going to look at the Real Clear Politics poll here. So from 2018, from October 18th to October 21st, we have Governor Whitmer and Tudor Dixon in a tie. I think this takes the average of all of the. No, this isn't an average. This is just where we're at. So Tudor Dixon catches up to Gretchen Whitmer, which is a real positive because the media kind of swings toward Whitmer. Republicans aren't really going to talk about the fact that they're voting for Tudor Dixon. They're not going to answer media polls very often on what's going on. So it's looking like Tudor Dixon is going to take it. So we're going to see exactly how conservative she is. I'm skeptical. Maybe some of you are skeptical. We're going to find out. So Tudor Dixon is looking like the next governor of Michigan. So I just wanted to say something about the debate. I'm not going to play anything from it because anybody that is interested in politics has already watched it. So I don't need to say anything about it. What I will say is that I've had a discussion with a conservative, and I've heard from independents. Both of them have said that they're not exactly thrilled with how Tudor Dixon carries herself, how she attacks Whitmer. Now, from where I'm sitting, I'm not sure how you run a political campaign without pointing out the faults in your opponent. But I will say that I wasn't 100% impressed with the debate either. Now, there's another debate tonight. In approximately an hour and 40 minutes, hour and 45 minutes. There's going to be another debate. Will Tudor Dixon do better? I think so. I think the last debate that she had really bumped her up in the polls. Again, I'm not sure how, because while the Republican is still going to vote for her, and the Independent wasn't necessarily thrilled with how she conducted herself, she still bumped up in the polls after the debate. So there were enough independents that were impressed by her to affect the polling. Now, we move over to the proposals. That's not looking so good. Proposal 1 for term limits, a significant majority of 66.3% of Michigan voters said that they would support this proposal. Now, this proposal changes the state legislature term limit to 12 years total in the legislature. So here we are. Get ready for your state representative to sit in Congress for 12 years, sucking off the teat of any corporation that wants to fund them and give them money to propose legislation. That's where we're going with this. It's not going to hurt people in the Senate. It's not going to hurt senatorial races. What it is going to hurt is the overturn in the lower house, the House of Representatives. So that's where we're at. 66.3% of voters. A whopping 70.3% of voters said that they will support Proposal 2. Now, I don't know why. Getting rid of voter ID? This is silly. I'm not sure how people can be convinced by the commercials that have been out. So I've seen some of the commercials. Oh, veterans need the right to vote. Veterans need to get their ballots in on time. Anybody who's anybody needs to be able to vote. Who cannot vote in Michigan? Right? All this would do is get rid of voter IDs. All those positive things that they're saying can already be done. Veterans can already vote whenever they want to. It's not going to change anything except getting rid of voter ID. So, Proposal 2, this is dumb. Yeah, can't believe that. Now, here's the lowest polling proposal going into the Michigan Amendment. Proposal 3, abortion rights. Majority of Michigan voters, 61.6%, said they would support this proposal. Now, again, this is a poll done by the mainstream media. And as I mentioned in our opening, the mainstream media can't necessarily be trusted. So this one I expect to fail. Now we're going to see how good my prediction is. But at 61.6%, I expect this proposal to fail. I expect the other two to pass. This one, I'm not so sure about. So that's where we're sitting. They say, the Glenn Gariff group that conducted this survey, they say that there's a 95% level of confidence. So, and it has a margin of error of plus or minus 4%. So I'm saying that this Proposal 3 question has a plus or minus error of 11.6%. And I'm pretty sure that that's what it's going to be. I don't think that's going through. Because a lot of people have been made aware of the proposal's radical nature, the proposal's permanent nature, and the individual rights that are, or the parental rights rather, that are going to be lost. So I'm looking at Bridge Magazine, and even the leftist Bridge Magazine says that Proposal 3 is a bad idea for Michigan. Wow. This magazine is so far left that their editor, their senior editor, blocks me for just saying true things, right? Just bringing up true things when she says, George Floyd it's so sad that he died. And I say, well, he did have a lethal dose of fentanyl in his system. She said, nope, block. I can't handle the truth. There it goes. So even this magazine is saying that Proposal 3 is a bad idea. It admits that the parental rights will be gone. It admits that when the proposal says individual, that it doesn't specify that individual means adult. So it admits that minors will be able to get an abortion, will be able to get all these different services, up to and including sterilization, without their parental consent. It also admits that Proposal 3 will allow abortion through all 9 months of pregnancy. It admits the fact that that abortion is left unregulated, that there's no more laws restricting who can perform an abortion unless individuals on standard supposed to achieve. Oh my goodness. Abortion law left unregulated. Where was it? Okay, it doesn't say. But the topic that I've brought up before of a veterinarian being able to perform an abortion is not outside the realm of possibility here, because so few things are defined with this amendment that really whatever a judge decides is the interpretation of it. So, I mean, you can say that a judge isn't gonna, allow pedophilia. You can say a judge isn't gonna allow a veterinarian to perform an abortion, but my skepticism is up to here. Okay, judges at this point in our country can't define what a woman is. They say they're not a biologist. So if you're expecting me to rely on the common sense of a judge, it's just not happening. All right, so this is good news. A poll conducted by, New York Times, I think. New York Times conducted a poll asking voters who they thought was the biggest threat to democracy. So let's take a look at this. I can't look at the actual poll because the New York Times, puts their stuff behind a paywall. Because you have to pay them to get the information that they're peddling. So because they have that credibility, but it looks like it's eroding. So Joe Biden, major threat to democracy. 38% of registered voters think that Joe Biden is a major threat to democracy. Donald Trump, 45% of registered voters. That's not surprising because of the mainstream media. The Supreme Court, registered voters, 27%. That's less than Joe Biden by a long shot. 27% of voters think the Supreme Court is a threat to democracy. Okay? Look at this one. The mainstream media, registered voters, 59% think that the mainstream media is a major threat to democracy. 25% think that it's a minor threat to democracy. Now, you'll excuse my math because it's real quick here, but that's 84% of Americans think the mainstream media is a threat to democracy, whether major or minor. Wow. 84%. You can't get 84% of Americans to agree on anything. They think that the mainstream media is a threat to democracy. I would tend to agree with them. So, yeah, this is just great news for me. People are waking up to the fact that democracy is under threat, but it's not from Donald Trump. It's not from the Republicans. It's not from the Supreme Court. It is from the mainstream media that decides that, you don't need that piece of information. You need this piece of information. And if you don't think this, you might be a racist. So the mainstream media is doing their darndest to make you believe that they have your best interest at heart, while really all that they want is for you to believe what they want you to believe. All right. So next we have Restoring Ottawa threatens. Now, I want you to just chill for a minute. Wait, because this Restoring Ottawa threatens. I mean, this is big news. These people are a threat to democracy, right? And you know this because the media told you that they're a threat to democracy, right? You read it in the Grand Haven Tribune that they are a threat to democracy. And it's scary. I know it's scary, but we're going to walk through this together. All right. To the editor, I wrote a bit ago in the early days of August about the primary for Ottawa County. What generally concerns me was that the fight between a phantom MAGA wing of the Republican Party pushing ever closer to the right with their outrageous moral absolutes and moderate Republicans. What groups like Ottawa Impact tried to do was bring this war home, upending local elections with their massive amounts of money. This manifested in the race between Roger Bergman and Jenny Shepherd Kelly, the former being a tried and true Republican who has a history of success in county management, and the latter, a reactionary intended to capitalize off the polarization that drew the National Republican Party further right. The voters of Grand Haven answered the challenge with careful consistency by going into the ballot booth and checking off Roger Bergman's name. Yet I write again that the threat is renewed come November, this time arriving at our children's education. Restoring Ottawa, a group scarily similar to Ottawa Impact, has issued a slew of candidates for all three openings in Grand Haven Area Public School Board. Roger Williams, Tommy Van Hill, and Thomas Hoekstra II. Their mantra is the same as Jenny Shepherd Kelly, decrying issues that don't exist because they can't win the arguments about the issues that do. They scare parents with false ideas, providing a persecution of GHAPS faculty that would make McCarthy proud. Speaking as a recently graduated Grand Haven student, I can say definitively that what Restoring Ottawa peddles is false. Our schools are the gold standard for education, and the idea that students are being indoctrinated at a massive level is silly. With that gold standard comes academic freedom and the ability for students to explore, maintained by a history of proud school board achievement. Restoring Ottawa threatens to end all that. All right. Jacob Welch of Grand Haven, recently graduated student. So, Restoring Ottawa, Tommy Van Hill, Roger Williams, and Thomas Hoekstra, very threatening. Now, I happen to have talked to Roger Williams, and we might just have to laugh. So, number one, you know what? Actually, we're going to read another letter to another letter. My goodness, I said it again. I'm just stuck on letter. We're going to read another letter to the editor. So, this is from another Grand Haven resident, Stuart Veek. He says, and what is Ottawa Impact? If you go to their website, their mission statement claims their goal is to preserve and protect the individual rights of people in Ottawa County, including freedom of speech, freedom of association, religious liberty, due process, and sanctity of conscience. But if you look further, they are pro-life / anti-abortion. Oh no. They support the Second Amendment. Guns. They are anti-mask. Ah, shoot. Okay, there we go. And their idea of religious freedom is their right to impose their religious beliefs on the rest of us. They want to control what our children read. Of course, ban books. And they want to control what is taught about our true history. Our true history. Oh, the Reverend Kramer presented an excellent column regarding this issue in October 5th. So, you can go read Reverend Kramer's. He says, so vote for incumbents Trutler, Stack, and Eichholt Yeah. So, radical extremists there at Ottawa Impact. So, we're going to check out their extreme statements. Check this out. Look, I got this on my Twitter. You can go and read their super extreme statements. So, as an elected official in Ottawa County, I will, number 1, promote and protect liberty and freedom by valuing the people of Ottawa County above the interests of government, corporations, or special interests. I will boldly take action to thwart tyranny, government overreach, and injustice in Ottawa County. Very extreme. How dare they sign this thing? I am going to just explode. Let's look at the next one. Govern with the least force and the least authority required, allowing citizens to maximize opportunity to make their own decisions for their families, businesses, employees, churches, and schools. What extremists? What fascists? How dare they allow people to make their own decisions? Let's go to the next one. Promote due process and defend the rights and liberties of the people of Ottawa County so that people may live without fear of reprisal or intimidation from local elected officials and staff. How authoritarian. They don't want people to live in fear of reprisal or intimidation from local elected officials and staff? What is going on in our county? What is this? This is absolute insanity. These people are extreme in the extreme. All right, the last 3, I think we need a theme song for. Defend the moral responsibility of parents and legal guardians to maintain control of the care and upbringing of their children, which must not be usurped by local government or the government school system. The government's moral responsibility for children must remain subservient to parents' rights. How terrible. Number 5, honor all people equally due to their individual intrinsic value and worth. Reject ideology that segregates people into groups to justify treating them differently. How dare they? Number 6, use common sense, courage, and the Constitution when making decisions in my elected role. My goodness. They're animals. All right. Well, I feel chills using music. Okay, so super extremist, horrible people. Now, all the links for everything that I'm showing to you, putting in your face, they are all in the description to this video or in the description to this podcast. You can go to the description. You can choose the link. I actually put them in order for you. So you can look at them. You can say, okay, this is what he's talking about at this point. I'm going to check out this link. I just started doing that on the advice of a buddy of mine that's kind of helping me out with this. So there are some that argue that, well, Grand Haven is the gold standard, right? We just saw it in the Tribune. Somebody said that Grand Haven is the gold standard. Well, they are in the top 20% of schools. I'll grant them that. But in between 2014 and 2022, the decline has been precipitous, especially in 3rd grade, 4th grade. Now, that is mostly due to the pandemic. And 18 to 19 to 21 to 22 has dropped. All of them, all grades have dropped. All grades are minus 9.8% proficiency in everything. Actually, no, in math. All grades are minus 4.5% in English language arts. So I'm not going to say that the school is on a great trajectory. They were doing well up until 2019, except for in 3rd grade. 3rd grade is just having a rough time. 4th grade, they almost made up for it. 5th grade and 6th grade, they made kind of mediocre improvements. 7th grade did a lot better. 7th grade, they shot right up. So something at the middle school is going right. But even the middle school shot down by 16.0%. Back down to 56.7% proficiency in 7th grade. between 2018 and 2022. So they're not exactly doing the best. Maybe it's just possible that teaching about sex and gender is not doing the students as much good as maybe teaching them about math and reading. Now, I do have a full interview up with Mr. Roger Williams running for the school board. Now, this guy, he's an animal. He is just wild. All right. So I read you Walter. What is his last name? Now I forget. Oh, poop. I'm forgetting his name. Walter Davis. That's it. So I read you Walter Davis's account of Roger Williams. I've actually just talked to Carl Trutler. I think it's Carl Trutler about Roger Williams, and he said he was very disruptive and stuff too. Now you're going to find out just how much of an animal Roger Williams is. He's crazy. I can't believe it. He got on the phone and I was like, I had to protect my ear from this ravaging beast of a man with his ridiculously loud voice. Now, Roger's probably dying of laughter right now. Roger, I'm not trying to make fun of you. I'm just accentuating the difference here in what's really going on. Let's listen.
So he did say that.
Now you'll hear my voice.
That.
And then you'll hear the difference in Roger's voice.
He says that you claimed that you work with librarians and curriculum director to select books for the libraries, and then he says the fact of the matter is that there was no greater impediment to the functioning of our libraries than Roger, who treated us to rants at almost every school board meeting, claiming falsely that libraries were littered with porn. I won't read the whole quote for you, but can you explain just a little bit about how you were working with the librarians and the curriculum director? That was Mary Jane Evink, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So can you explain just that relationship from your point of view?
I brought myself and a few others brought some books that were geared to every age level that we thought would be good additions to the library. So one of the examples, the Tuttle Twins selection, 12 books.
Yes.
They simplify big topics into little children's books, and like my daughter read them, and we talked about the
All right, so you can see how bold and in your face this guy's voice is. Now, when he got on the phone, I was like, crap, nobody's gonna be able to hear him. But I did my magic and made him so that we could hear him. Did some amplification. So his full interview is up. It's about 17 minutes. Yeah, 17 minutes, 20 seconds. You can listen to the whole thing. You can listen to me and him talking back and forth. Now, how dare Roger work with the library and the curriculum director to put Tuttle Twins into the libraries? Now, if you're not familiar with Tuttle Twins, they are a radical right-wing extremist arm of the Republican Party that are only there to indoctrinate your children to believe that the Constitution is the best document in the world. All right, so I'm exaggerating a little bit. Tuttle Twins are basically just a non-sexual book that talks about, school subjects, like the Constitution, like amendments, like the working of government. Now, Roger Williams, I talked with him about, how, what's his face? Walter, Mr. Davis, characterized him as disruptive. He said he went over in one meeting, and that was because the school put out curriculum that was teaching that punctuality is racist. So he said, well, if punctuality is racist, then I'm just going to take 2 extra minutes. And he argued with Mr. Tudor, who actually said he knows him. and you'll be able to listen to all that. I'm going to put that out tonight so that you can listen to the full thing. You can know exactly where Carl Tudor stands on everything, and then I'll talk about it probably on my next show. But where we're at is that soft-spoken man is the greatest threat to democracy that you will see. Now, people keep on mischaracterizing these guys. I'm not sure where the extremism is. I even asked Carl where the extremism is, and he said that it was in just pestering the board. And again, you can go to my interview, the full interview with Carl, and you can see that he says, while they were pestering the board, they kept on coming back to us with questions. And there are other people that question the legitimacy of what these guys are talking about. There's one in particular, Tracy Whitleaf, I think, who says that Thomas Hoekstra says, he wants to defund special education. Again, full interview I just posted today. You can go back. You can see that he's talking about, math teachers not talking to children about their sexual proclivities. He doesn't say a thing about sexual education. So there's a bunch of misinformation going around about the new school board members. There's also Carl Tudor. I asked him about this. He said Barbara Petrangelo was just disruptive and would never take no for an answer. That's why he had to raise his voice to her. But I just want to play you a little clip of Carl Tudor interacting with Barbara Petrangelo. And I think I'm going to call Barbara and talk to her about this interaction in particular. Since I've gotten Carl's side, I want to get Barbara's side as well.
Logo cannot be used. And
what are you complaining about? That the board is doing stuff wrong procedurally? This is about procedure that we did. Is that why you are on this Board of Education?
no, I'm on this board.
Just going to let this play for a minute.
Because I believe in public education, democratic education.
Okay,
And
but
we
you're telling
voted
us things
the
that you
board-
think we
the
did wrong.
board-
You're telling us things that you think we did wrong.
The board already voted.
Are you telling us things that you think we did wrong?
I'm asking
Yes
for an
or no?
explanation. Yes.
Yes, we did this wrong.
It also brings in that, curriculum and curriculum development is full approval of the board. And that our
Ugh.
curriculum needs to be based on all of our standards.
If we give you an answer, why don't you accept it? Why do we have to go through it? Do you hear?
Question. This is inappropriate.
No, it's not. You lose. And if you lose, and we go on to run the district, you're part of the team. You're part of the board. You can't go out and whimper and say, oh, I voted opposite, and get off the hook. You're one of us. And you gotta learn to play by the rules.
Then, return the phone calls.
Oh, come on.
Yes.
You ask questions, and I answer your freaking phone calls as often as I can. You're the only person that asks me questions month after month. Month after month you ask questions. And you ask questions that you've asked previously and been answered. You're a problem board member. I'm sorry to say that, but you're a problem. You are not a good board member. You have not taken classes enough to know what a good board member is. Takes.
So, not exactly what I would say is professional. And I expressed this to Carl. I was like, I don't know that the way you approached this was necessarily the greatest. And he said, well, somebody had to put their foot down, and it was me. So I guess that's that. We can look at that and we can say, is the school going in a direction that we want it to? Maybe not. I don't know. I've shown some statistics that make it look as though the school is not going in the way we want it to go. I've seen some things from Grand Haven Public Schools that maybe indicate that it's not going the way we want it to go. So to say that Barbara is problematic, disruptive, talking about procedure a lot, that may very well be true. But is it something that you need to harass her about? I don't think so. She was one person. I don't know how, and she seems about as soft-spoken as the other guys that are running for school board. So one of the things that is questionable is this. This book is gay. Okay? This was found in Grand Haven area public school library. It's in their catalog. Screenshot right here. Okay? So you can't say it's not there. I asked Carl about it, and he said that, it should be in the schools. Now, I'm going to just read you an excerpt from this. If you're watching on the video, you can see the excerpts that I'm about to read. And we'll decide together if this is where we want our public schools to go. Here's a quote from the book, page 173. "This book is gay," by Juno Dawson. "Something they don't teach you in school is that in order to be able to not sure how I can say this. In order to be able to explode at all, you or your partner may need to finish off with a handy. A lot of people find it hard to explode through other types of sex. A good handy is all about wrist action. Rub the head of his C back and forth with your hand. Try different speeds and pressures until he responds positively. A bad handy is grasping the pea and shaking it like a ketchup bottle." So, not something that I think should be in Grand Haven area public schools, and not something that I think the current school board is particularly concerned about, as Carl kind of defended vehemently the idea that they should be there. So that's kind of where we're at. I'm not sure exactly how Carl's race is being run. Not sure exactly how this platform is a winning one. But it's not my platform. It's not my race. Not my monkey. Not my circus. All right. So that's all that we have for you today. I wanted to just highlight Mr. Roger Williams. Carl Trutler is coming up next week. We're going to do a couple highlights from his interview. He actually talked to me for about 40 minutes. If you were live streaming earlier, you saw that I was on for about 5 minutes and then I was off because Carl called me back and I was like, oh, I need to take this and I need to have this interview. So that will be coming up very soon. In fact, I'll be streaming that sometime later tonight to YouTube. It will be on there, the full interview. You'll be able to see it. So with that, Proposal 3 voting next week. Get out and vote. Even better, get out, knock on some doors, and convince other people to vote no on this. It is within the margin of error. I don't think Proposal 3 is going to pass, but the other two will. I think they will. So I don't know if there's anything we can do about that, but I don't want anybody listening to feel as though, shoot, I should have done more to get Proposal 3 voted down. So I'm offering you the opportunity to get the vote out. If you have any questions, how can I help? How can I get this voted down? Email me. You don't want to be sitting there on November 12th, November 13th and say, man, I wish I'd knocked on more doors, right? You don't want that. So email me, straight news for you, FOR, not the letter, straight news for you at gmail.com. You can also comment on the video. You can go to my Facebook. You can go to my Twitter. You can do any of those things to get a hold of me to find out what you can do to help get Proposal 3 voted down. That's the one I'm worried about. That's the one that you don't want to pass. So with that, we are done for the day. I'm Anon Don, and this is the Holmes Politicast.